Good day, everyone. We are the Group 6, and today we will be discussing PatFit Module 4, Lesson 1, which is the 10 Larong Pinoy. Brief introduction. What are Larong Pinoy? Larong Pinoy is the games of our heritage or laro ng lahi. It is a cultural treasure o yaman ng lahi, cherished by generations of Filipinos. It is a favorite pastime that is close to the hearts of Filipinos, encompassing generations from our grandparents to our parents, and among the youth and toddlers of today. So, I know mostly sa atin is na-experience yung mga ganitong klase ng laro noong mga bata pa tayo. These games are very popular noon kasi hindi pa uso yung mga gadgets and ito lang talaga yung ginagawang pastime ng mga kabataan dati. Kahit nung times pa ng mga parents natin. Walang anumang gadgets pero super saya. But sadly, in today's generation, hindi na siya ganong nilalaro ng mga bata. Siguro sa mga rural areas dito sa bansa natin, nilalaro pa din siya, but in urban areas, I don't think so. Kasi dito sa amin, maraming mga bata, pero wala na akong nakikita na naglaro ng mga ganitong games. Unlike sa amin noon, dito rin sa lugar namin, every hapon talaga around 4 to 6 p.m. Yan yung time na magsisipaglabasan yung mga bata and maglalaro ng tumbang preso, ubusan lahi, maro, etc. Even sa school nilalaro din namin yung mga ganitong games. Ako personally, na-experience ko yung 10 games na itatakal namin today. And I can say na swerte ako kasi I got to experience this kind of games dati. Kasi sobrang saya niya talaga. And yun nga, sa lesson na ito, na-reminisce ko din yung mga moments na ganito dati. So, yan. Let's move forward. So the 10 larong Pinoy that we'll be discussing today are luksong tinik, luksong baka, patintero, sipa, shato or shatong, tumbang preso, piko, Chinese garter, ubusan lahi, and maro or agawan base. The following slides will be discussed by my group mates, Sarah and Princess Danica.
Okay, ayan. So, sa unang laro natin, luksong tinik. Sino bang hindi nakakaalam sa larong ito? So, definition lang ng luksong tinik. Next slide, please. Luksong tinik is a popular game in the Philippines. It originated in Cabanatuan City, Philippines. It is played by two teams with equal number of players. Each team designates a leader, the nanay, while the rest of the players are called anak. So, ito talaga isa talaga sa pinaka-popular na games dito sa Pilipinas, kahit ako nasubukan ko din to. And very masaya talaga siya laruin. So, ayan, next slide. First question is, what are the equipment needed? So, on this kind of game, there is actually no required equipment needed. You only need your hands and your feet. Obviously, as we can see from the picture naman, paa lang kamay ang kailangan dito sa larong to. Next question is, how do you play this game? To play this game, the first team decides among themselves who will play first and who will be the two who will act as the thorns in the game. Thorns have a very important part as well as a difficult task in the game. Jumpers take turns passing the levels. The jumpers form a queue and the thorns take their position. The thorns A sit facing each other with the soles of their feet touching. This is the first level that jumpers must successfully jump through without touching any of their body parts with those of the thorns' body parts. Next level, the two thorns must adjust their distance a bit towards each other so they can comfortably and successfully create level 2, where one of thorn A's foot is used as base and another of thorn B's foot as the second level above the base. Then, it is thorn A's foot as base, thorn B's foot as second layer of base, then thorn A's other foot as third level. Then, it's both A and B's feet alternating to create level 4. Then it is all 4 feet plus thorn ace hand level 5. A and 5's A and B's feet and one hand each, level 6. A and B's feet and two ace hands and B's one hand, level 7. Finally, level 8 has all four hands and feet alternating. Successful jumpers are cleared and passed on to the next level. The group decides how many tries will be given for each attempt. For example, you get one more try. So if you are unsuccessful for the first attempt, you step aside and wait till everyone has their turn jumping over the thorns. After this, all the unsuccessful ones take their second attempt. If you still did not clear that level, you are out of the game and spend the remaining time watching the rest of the kids complete all the rounds. Then you are a candidate for the thorns so that the thorns of the current game can take their turn as jumpers in the next game. So sa English mukhang complicated talaga yung laro na to pero pag alam naman siguro natin lahat basic talaga kung paano lang laruin to per level kailangan lang talaga magaling kang tumalon tapos yung mga thorns syempre dapat magagaling din sa pwesto nila para hindi basta-basta masira at yung game maayos pa ring malalaro. So, next question is, what is the purpose or the goal of this game? The purpose of this game is to challenge the player's jumping height. Also, the purpose of this game is to have fun. Syempre, lahat naman ng games, purpose talaga is to have fun. Pero itong laro na to, syempre na-measure din dito kung gaano ka taas tumalon. Tsaka yung, syempre yung lakas mo din, kung madali ka mapagod, hindi ka pwede sa ganitong klaseng laro. Next is, what are the tips to win this game? The tips is you should jump higher by bending your hips and knees. Push yourself into a standing position as you thrust your hips forward and lower yourself into a squat. And then jump as high as you can to build the momentum. So that's it for the Luksong Tinik. Next game. Luksong Baka. Filipino game that originated from Bulacan. It involves a minimum of 3 players and maximum of 10 players involves them by jumping over the person called Baka. So ito, hawig din siya sa Luksong Tinik pero as you can see dito, ibang klaseng pagtalon naman yung ginagawa nila at medyo mas mahirap to compared sa Luksong Tinik. So next slide. Next slide, please. What are the equipment needed? Katulad nga ng Luksong Tinik, there is still no required equipment for this game because you only need your body. Happy called tayak or it, or in this game, the bakang lala or cow. The player should avoid falling over the baka player while jumping over. The baka player should start with an on his knees. All players are to jump over the baka until all the players have jumped. Once the first set of jumping over the baka is done, the baka player's position will slowly rise up after the back of the person who is bent over. If a player fails to avoid contact or fall over the baka, they will replace the baka player with the kneeling position found on step 3, and the game continues. Sobrang dali lang talaga laruin, basta yun nga, kailangan din um, mataas ka tumalon and kaya mong lampasan bawat level of this game. The main goal of the players is to successfully jump over the baka without touching or falling over the baka. So just like the Luksong Tinik, you just need to jump over the obstacles and finish all the levels of the game. Next is, what are the tips to win this game? Just like Luksong Tinik, you should jump higher by bending your hips and knees. Push yourself to a standing position as you thrust your hips forward and lower yourself into a squat. And then jump as high as you can. So, tong dalawang laro na to is pataasan talaga ng talon ang masusubukan. Okay, next game please. Patintero. So this is one of my most favorite games. Next slide, please. Patintero is a popular Filipino game that pulls one in from the word go. It is also known as tubigan and has attracted the attention of many individuals all over the world. The super popular game applies to both children and adults, and it tests an individual's agility and spatial awareness. So, new information to sa akin na yung patintero pala is known worldwide. Kala ko talaga dito lang yun sa Pilipinas. Pero sa tingin ko nga may reason din kung bakit popular siya kasi sobrang masaya talaga laruin to and very challenging type of game. Next slide, please. Patintero is a native game in the Philippines that requires two teams with at least five players on each side. It is the best practice for hand eye coordination and strategic thinking. Find out everything that makes this game worth the while. The word patintero is derived from the Spanish word tinte, which means tint or ink in reference to the drawn lines. Next. So, because it is a very popular game, di talaga ka gulat-gulat na marami siyang names, other names. So, ito nga yung ibang names ng patentero. Harangang taga or haring taga, tubigan nay or tubig-tubig water game, lump-lumpas, igorot, sabatan, kapampangan, sinibon or serbab, Ilocano, tadlas for 4 players or birus-birus for 6 players, Eastern Visayas. Next, please. So, what are the equipment needed? You don't need any equipment to play it, but for an official game, prepare chalk to mark lines on the ground and perhaps a whistle and a stopwatch to set a time limit. So, usually ako nung bata ko, ang ginagamit lang namin dito ay uling or minsan kung sa lupa ka lang pwede mo namang linyahan. So, syempre sa mga official games, sabi nga dito, prepare a chalk or a whistle din dahil meron siyang time. Next question is, how do you play this game? Draw a massive rectangle on the ground using chalk for clarity and divide it into smaller rectangles depending on the number of players. The patintero drawing involves 6 to 8 smaller rectangles. The players should form two teams with an equal number of players, where one team plays defense and guards the other team against passing the lines. The two teams make up the guards and the runners or passers. The guards assign a player to the lateral line in the middle of the rectangle and the other players on each horizontal line. The objective of the runners is to get across to one end of the big rectangle and back without being touched or tagged by a guard. During the game, the guards should ensure they have both feet on the ground before tagging their opponent. Otherwise, it will not count. Once a runner is tagged, he or she gets out of the game. If a runner makes it across the big rectangle and back without being touched with the butterfly fingers, they earn a point. Once all the runners of a team have been tagged, it's game over. So, the teams then switch sides and the runner becomes the guard and vice versa. So, this is a very, kailangan mo rin ng hindi lang yung kailangan mabilis ka lang tumakbo or magaling ka lang umiwas, kailangan din dito sa laro na to ng proper thinking. Siyempre, strategy kung paano nyo malalampasan yung mga guards ng mga kalaban nyo at paano kayo makaka-earn ng point. Next is the rules of the game. Patintero rules applies across the board to all players. The equipment required for the game includes chalk or paint, a score test, score sheet, a whistle, and a stopwatch. The playing court should be rectangle of about 7.5 long and 5 meters wide, divided into 6 equal rectangles. The rules of Patintero Philippines are as follows. The game starts with the toss of a coin to decide the team that becomes the passer or runner. There is a time limit of 2 minutes for each team to score. Once the 2 minutes elapse, the two teams change sides and the guards become the passers and vice versa. The passers or runners are supposed to cross the lines from the starting point and back to earn a point. The line guards are positioned on a vertical lines with one on the horizontal line of the grid, making sure that their feet are always on the line. The patentera objectives of the line guards include tagging the passers or runners with their powered or butterfly hands and blocking them from passing the lines. Once a guard tags any of the passers, the line guards assume the position of the passers. So, I have no idea na meron palang ganitong rules sa patintero. Kala ko kung kailan lang kayo mapagod, doon na kayo mag-stop. So, parang dahil nga worldwide known game siya, parang meron din siyang sariling game na para din siyang official sport na nilalaro dahil may mga ganito pala siyang klase ng rules. So, what is the purpose or the goal of this game? The objective of this game is to block or harang the players from the opposing team from passing. So, kailangan nga, dapat mapigilan mo yung mga kalaban mo na makapass sa inyo para hindi sila magkaroon ng point. So, what are the tips to win this game? You, the player, must master strategic thinking and the hand and eye coordination. So, yun yung sabi ko kanina, kailangan ng strategic thinking, hindi lang basta mabilis yung kamay mo at mabilis kang tumakbo. So, next game. Okay. Sipa. Um, Sipa or kick is the Philippines' traditional native sport which predates Spanish rule. The game is related to sepak takraw and similar with football. The game is both played by two teams indoors or outdoors on a court that is about the size of a tennis court. The team consists of one, two, or four players in each side. So, I am familiar with this game talaga pero hindi hindi ko siya gano'n kapaborito dahil hindi ako magaling sumipa ng, ano ba yung bala ang tawag. Okay, so what are the equipment needed? One version of Sipa uses a lead washer covered with cloth, which gets kicked. The version is played by both girls and boys, but girls tend to use the outside of their foot to manipulate the washer. While boys more often use the inside of the foot, the rattan ball uses a large rattan woven ball with the same foot action. Originally, the rattan sipa ball was 10 meters in diameter and made of woven rattan strips with symmetrical holes. So, how do you play this game? The sipa is thrown upwards for the player toss using his or her foot. The player must not allow the to touch the ground by hitting it several times with the foot and sometimes the area above the knee. The player must count the number of times he or she was able to kick the sipa. The one with the greatest number of kicks wins the games. The game sipa have three different versions with variations of the rules. These are as follows. The washer version. For this version, the rules are simpler. Points are scored based on the number of kicks without the ball touching the ground. If the ball touches the ground, 1 point is awarded for the opposing team. Rattan ball version. The most defining feature of the game of Sipa is that the ball should only be touched with the legs anywhere from below the knee to the tip of the toes. The rattan ball can touch the ground. Simplified play. 1 on 1, 2 on 2, 3 on 3, or 4 on 4. A set of rules determines penalty points such as the ball bouncing twice on the ground. The two teams play against each other until a set of penalty points is reached by one of the teams. There is also a court version in which a rectangle is marked in grids. Grids denotes zones and dictates where the players stand and how points are allotted based on where the ball lands in the court. This game requires coordination. So, marami palang kinds ng play itong sipa. Hindi lang siya basta sipa-sipa ka lang kung ilan lang yung makuha mo. So, this is, I think, national is in usual sport na rin na ginagawa sa Pilipinas at nagkakaroon ng iba't ibang competition in the country. So next, what is the purpose or the goal of this game? The aim of the game is to kick a softball made out of rattan fragments back and forth over a net in the middle of the court. The sport requires speed, agility, and ball control. So para din siyang volleyball pero gamit lang yung paa mo and kailangan go back and forth over mo siya sa net. What are the tips to win this game? Since this game requires speed, agility, and ball control, it is only necessary that you should master the mentioned skills. It is also crucial that you focus on the softball and not let the external forces distract you. That's all. Next reporter.
For the fifth, 10 larong Pinoy is the shato o shatong. It is commonly known as the game of sticks Shatong is not your common sports. It is a game played in the suburbs and rural areas of the Philippines, but similarly played in the Middle East that goes by the name of Gutalaguti. Kapampangan called it as Shatong. The game makes use of two sticks, one longer than the other. The longer stick will be served like a bat, and the shorter stick serves like the hit. Two teams are needed to play this game. The other team will serve as the hitter, while the other will serve as the fetcher. What are the equipment needed? So the equipment needed is two bamboo sticks. The other one is the longer stick than the other one. But usually sa other players po, ang ginagamit nila is yung coconut husk for safety purposes. So how do you play this game? So first, shato is played by digging a small hole on the ground using two sticks, a short and a longer one. Next, put the short stick on the hole with the one end protruding it out. Hit that end with the long stick, and while the shorter stick is in the air, try and hit it again as far as it can go. Third is measure the distance using the long stick as the yardstick. Fourth, the winner gets hit the short stick starting from the hole as many times as he's winning. Fifth, the loser has to run from the distance back to the hole as all while shouting "Shato." Six, if she loses his breath while running, the winner hits the small stick again from the point, and the loser has to run and shout it again. So the third question is, what was the purpose of the goal of this game? The purpose of the game is to hit the shorter stick with the longer stick as far as it can go, and when this happens, the hitter will run to mark an area. Last, what are the tips to win this game? So, as a player, it is important you have a hand and eye coordination because it is a crucial when doing the basic skill of the game. Next po. So, next is tumbang preso. Tumbang preso, alam naman natin yan. Lagi nilalaro. Usually, yan yung alam kong laruin. Aside sa luksong baka and luksong tinik. So, tumbang preso is a long before the internet and gadgets were introduced to them. Filipino kids were already playing the social game called tumbang preso. It is called batolata in Bisaya, which literally means knock down the prisoner or knock down the can in English. Tumbang preso or tumbalata is one of the popular games played in the Philippines. The game is mostly played on the backyards, open area, and most commonly streets in the place where vehicular traffic is minimal. Kids bring their tumbang preso like right in the middle of the road. So, what what is the equipment needed? So the equipment needed is an it, two or more players, a rectangular field, a can, a pair of sleepers, a chalk or anything tools to line and indicator. So usually ang ginagamit namin dyan is yun nga, yung uling. Minsan kung sa lupa naman, mamamarka na lang namin ang yung lupa. So next, how to play this game? So for start the game, you must invite 3 or more people to involve in the game. Once you have enough players for this game, use a chalk to mark a rectangular field with a ratio of 16 by 9 or any dimension similar to 16 by 9. Then, divide the field into 4 sections. Next, remove the center line. And next, players must have the sleepers to hit the can precisely. Fifth, the it must never go to the player zone unless he or she will tag a player without the sleepers. 6. Players must never go to the it zone unless he or she will tag a player without sleepers. 7. Players must never go to the it zone unless he or she throws the sleepers. Next, 8 players must throw the sleepers or else she or he will be the it in the next round. The it will take the can 3 times if every player misses the can and no players are in the player zone with his or her sleepers. Next, the it will never tag a player if the can is knocked out. Next, the players must hit the can precisely while the it will tag a player who has his her sleepers in the it zone. Next, once the can knock out with the player's sleepers, the it will bring back the can to its position and she or he will tag again. Next, if that it tags a player, the player who is tagged will be the it in the next round. If all the players miss the can and no player is in the player zone, the it will take the can 3 times. Then all the players, including the it, will go to the player zone as fast as possible. The game is over. The next it will be the player who is last coming to the player zone. So next, what is the purpose of the or the goal of this game? The objective of the game for these players to hit and knock down the can with the sleeper and for the it to put back the can inside the small circle a few meters away from the toe line. When a player is tagged while recovering their sleepers, they become the it. And last, what are the tips to win this game? So the tip is choose a pamato that is right for you. Practice your aim. Study the movement of your opponent. Act fast and develop quick thinking. Oo nga naman, syempre. So next is Pico. Pico is the Philippine variation of the game hopscotch. A playing court is first drawn in the ground consisting of squares and home base with a pit stop where one can rest both feet. The game involves transporting a bato, game piece which may be flat stone or pebble, a pottery shred from the one square to another until the course is finished. This must be done by hopping, skipping, or tripping the bato, forcing it to move to the next square. Without touching the drawn lines, the variation of the game are pikong baro, sampaga, and bale. So, what are the equipment needed? So, so usually kami, lalaro namin yan is, ano lang naman po, chalk lang. So, pero dito sa description, yun usually need is a chalk or Crayola. On siyempre kailangan mo rin ng pamato which is yung flat na bato or yung sirang flower pot na basta flat. So next, how do you play this game? So first, the players stand behind the edge of the box and each should throw their cue ball. The first to play is determined depending on the player's agreement. Whoever succeeds in throwing the cue ball nearest to the place that they have agreed upon will play first. The next nearest to the second and so on. The person is out for the round if they stand with both feet. Next. The mechanics of this game is easy and can be played by single or by group. For group game, it should be started by finding out who will play the first, usually by Jack and Poy. The first step is to throwing your pucks in first box, then jumping with one leg for second and third box with left leg. On fourth box and the right leg on the fifth box. One leg on the sixth box with left leg on the seventh box and the right leg on the eighth box and one leg in the ninth box and two legs in the 10 box. Third, in the 10 box, you need to make a pivot or and repeat the process going back making a pause in second box while getting your pucks in first box by bending your body down with a single leg then jumping out of the box. And last, the next step is throwing your pucks on the second box up to 10 box and follow the same procedure in the first step. If the player's pucks or her body touches the line, it will be a turn for another player. The one to complete until 10 bucks will be declared the winner of this game. So next question is, what are the purpose or the goal of this game? So the purpose is to jump over a certain box that has your stone or pamato in it, and to successfully finish it without stepping on the lines or outside the lines. And next question is, what are the tips to win this game? So you should secure the accuracy when throwing a pamato, and you must learn to balance well to be able to finish the game. So usually yung mga ibang players na naglalaro nito, mas nahihirapan sila minsan pag magbabalanse, syempre nga nakakangalay, pero kailangan marunong kang mag-balance sa sarili mo sa paglaro nitong game na to. Next po.
Next is Chinese Garter. Chinese Garter is a game that requires flexibility and coordination. It is a famous game for Filipino kids, most particularly among young ladies amid their elementary years. The game rotates around a normal garter, around a few yards in length, which be bought from swing store at around 20 pesos. Initially, there ought to be two individuals holding the two ends of the garter, which is extended on a level plane, while others are attempting to transfer over to the opposite side of the garter. In each round, the stature of the garter increases. Higher rounds request agility since players jump with their feet first, noticeable all around, and they traverse this trap and wind up arriving as an afterthought. So, in this game naman, I know familiar tayong lahat dito, lalo na sa mga girls kasi very popular to dati na laro. In this game, flexibility and coordination is a must, which I lacked back when I was in elementary. Naalala ko noon, we always play this game dati, pero lagi lang ako umasa sa so-called mother or uh, uh, yung tawag sa leader ng tawag sa leader ng bawat grupo. Or usually siya yung bumubuhay sa team or yung sa mga players sa ka-team niya na pag naga-fail na mag-jump over sa garter. So yan, hanggang bewang lang yung share ko lang hanggang bewang lang yung kaya kong talunin dati. Anyways, proceed tayo sa questions. What are the equipment needed? In this game, yung material lang na kailangan is yung normal garter around few yards in length. Pero sa amin dati, yung ginagamit namin is yung rubber band or yung goma na pinagdugtong-dugtong lang. So, pwede na din yan. Ay, sorry. Second question, how do you play this game? Unang-una, mag-group kayo into two and then magbabato-topic kayo or in any way na para kung sino yung mauunang group yung maglaro. Bato-bato, pick each representative sa group. Tapos, kung sino mananalo, yun yung unang maglalaro. Unang team na maglalaro. After nun, yung taya na group ay yung tatayo. Dalawa sa taya na group, yung tatayo sa magkabilang dulo para hawakan yung garter or rubber band. And dun sa garter, tatalon yung members ng unang group na maglalaro. The goal of this game is to have the capacity to jump over the garter or rubber band as it is step by step held higher by the game post. So, eventually, pataas ng pataas yung hawak ng garter kasi nagle-level up siya. This game is also have a team leader, also known as mother, katulad ng binanggit ko kanina. So, katulad din sa laro ng 10-20, meron din tinatawag dito na mother or yung leader ng group. So, during the game, kapag hindi successfully naka-jump over sa garter yung player, bubuhayin or isisave siya ng nanay or yung mother ng group. And kapag nag-fail pa rin yung nanay, is yung another group na naman yung maglalaro. Chinese garter commonly has 10 levels, pero minsan nakadepende din sa players kung hanggang saang level lang yung gusto nilang gawin. Next question, what was the purpose or the goal of this game? As what I've mentioned earlier, The goal of this game is to successfully jump over the garter without being tripped. Last question. What are the tips to win this game? A player should have flexibility, balance, and coordination in order to win this game. Next game, Ubusan Lahi. It is also known as the game of conquer. The Japanese period saw its emergence. Ubusan ng Lahi or Ubusan Lahi literally means annihilation of race, which may have stirred memories of the Japanese invasion in the Philippines during World War II. It was also known as Bansai, a Japanese term for long live as greeting or patriotic cheer. So this game is also called as Game of Conquer sa English. This game was inspired during the Japanese invasion in the Philippines. Ubusan Lahi, from the name itself, is yung literal mechanics na laro. The game is also known as Bansai, which is the Japanese term for long live as patriotic cheer. Questions. What are the equipment needed? Sa laro na to, walang materials needed kasi yung kakailanganin mo lang yung kayo ka lang mismo, body lang. Next question, how do you play this game? Simple lang yung game na to. Mas madaming player, mas better. First, meron lang dapat isang matataya, isang tao lang. Yung goal ng player ng nataya is matag niya yung other players. Kapag natag niya na, magiging kakampi niya na yon, yung player na yon. After nun, dalawa na sila yung magiging magkakampi at dalawa na rin silang maghahanap ng kakampi or yung matatag nila para maging kakampi nila. Hanggang lahat ng players ay matag na nila or wala ng participants na or wala silang kalaro na hindi natag. Hanggang silang lahat na magkakampi. So, next question, what was the purpose or the goal of this game? The ultimate goal of this game is to gather more allies. Last question, what are the tips to win this game? You, including the other players, when joined together or become allies, must be consistent with the game strategies to gather more allies. Next game, last but not the least, the Maro or Agawan base. Maro is the Kapampangan name of the game popularly called Agawan base or stealing bases by Tagalogs. This game is called Moro Moro in Latin, also known as Bahaw Bahaw and Base Base. Itong laro na to, we used to laruin to dati sa school and lagi rin siya nilalaro dati dito sa lugar namin. So, sa laro na to, mas madaming players, mas better din. Questions. What are the equipment needed? Katulad sa Ubusan Lahi, no materials needed din sa laro na to kasi body lang din yung kailangan. Mga players lang mismo. Second question, how do you play this game? In this game, the players will be divided into two groups and each group will have their own base or territory. First, each group must go to their respective base or territory. One player per team should guard the respective base para hindi matouch ng member ng other team yung base nila. In case naman na matag yung player ng kabilang team, bago matouch yung base ng kabilang team na yon, yung natag na player na yon is magiging prisoner or bihag ng kabilang team. So, para mas madaling maintindihan, halimbawa, lalaro kami ng game na to, ng Maro. Nasa kanya-kanyang base na yung group namin. So, halimbawa, nag-attempt ako na i-touch yung base ng kabilang grupo. Pero habang doon ako sa territory nila, natag ako ng player ng kabilang grupo na yon. Kapag, pag natag niya ako, syempre doon ako sa base nila. Tatayo lang ako doon hanggang isave ako ng isa sa mga kakampi ko na player. Ang kailangan nilang gawin, masisave lang nila ako kapag masisave lang nila ako kapag na-touch ng isa sa kakampi ko yung base ng kalaban namin. So, ganun. And lastly, yung magiging winner is yung team na may pinakamaraming nagawang touch sa base ng kalaban nila. Third question, what was the purpose or the goal of this game? The goal of this game is to tag another team's base without getting tagged. And what are the tips to win this game? In order to win this game, it is important to learn teamwork, agility, and quick thinking. That's all for the module 4, lesson 1, 10 Larong Pinoy. Thank you so much for listening.